If you've ever earned a badge for completing workplace training or points on an employee leaderboard for the most sales or steps, you can probably thank Carmen Sandiego. When Broderbund Software published Carmen in 1985, it was one of the earliest examples of gamification in the education space. Almost 40 years on, points, badges, and leaderboards make up the cornerstone of today's workplace gamification. They are extrinsic motivators that allow learners to compete against their peers or themselves. While it's true that they drive ongoing engagement, when it comes to learning, old-style gamification can also drive negative outcomes alongside positive ones. Gamification needs to keep up with the times. If we take a glance at the top-rated games of the last 5 years, we see that there are 3 mechanics in particular being used to excite and capture players. So today, we're going to take a look at playgrounds, builds, and loops, how they engage multiple motivators, and how we could use them for learning in the workplace. This is Ready Employee 1, the channel looking at what video games can teach us about the future of learning and work. On this show, we explore a learning or employee experience topic, look at what the best games are doing, and what we can learn from them. Today we're talking about gamification, and why the main way it's used will never work for everyone. In 1973, a field experiment was conducted to test the over-justification theory. Basically, it was hypothesized that by giving a group of children an extrinsic reward, i.e. a point or a badge or, a piece of chocolate, their intrinsic motivation would decrease. The results showed that when the children knew to expect a reward, their desire to complete the exercise decreased. And yet, rewards are still central to gamification. Why? Because broadly speaking, typical gamification circumvents the decrease in motivation by increasing compulsion. When a player achieves a task in a game and is rewarded for it, science tells us that they also receive a dopamine hit, a burst of brain pleasure that motivates them to play more. This compulsion is useful for selling and playing games, but when it comes to learning, is it really a desirable outcome? Before we go further, let's spend a minute talking about player motivation. This is something that we'll cover off in more depth in another video, but basically we all have different drivers, things that motivate and engage us. These can be both intrinsic or extrinsic. The biggest issue with points, badges, and leaderboards is that they don't cater to everyone. What's more, when they do cater to people, incentives and peer comparisons have also been shown to decrease innovation, creativity, and increase cheating. This means that the opportunity to compete against peers can negatively impact an employee's experience, ambition, and moral code, which obviously are bad, unless you want that. Which is, good for you. When used in the workplace, gamification is intended to drive a learner to continue playing until the lesson is completed. Dopamine releases can help here, but relying solely on external rewards means that learners are engaged in the pursuit of points rather than education. In a sense, organizations are bribing employees to learn with feel-good brain moments. Now, maybe that's what's driving your employee, but there are other motivators than simple rewards, and that's what playgrounds, builds, and loops play into. Even the successful video games we're talking about today use points, badges, and leaderboards, but these mechanics aren't central to the experience for the player. In some instances, they are providing players with the resources they need to continue, but not necessarily the desire to. Demon's Souls lets you climb a bunch of stairs to look at ghosts who are much better at the game at you, and maybe one day you'll be one of those ghosts. Not me, I'm terrible at Demon's Souls. Taking a look at the top-rated games from the last 5 years, we see the following game mechanics recurring and being central to driving player engagement. These 3 mechanics are central to the enjoyment of the game. They provide players with a chance to take risks, be creative, and generate stories about the journey, not the incremental achievement. They play to multiple core motivators for players, which in turn increases the audience of players interested in playing the game. Let's take a look at each in more detail as they could be applied to workplace learning. Playgrounds are immersive, non-linear spaces where players put their skills to the test, generating their own narratives as they complete challenges in their own uniquely chosen way. Providing employees with playgrounds, immersive spaces, and toolkits doesn't have to mean building worlds in VR. Instead, this can be done by creating spaces that respond and react to the actions and choices taken by learners. Doing so means that employees can explore an endless stream of alternate approaches to completing a challenge, allowing them to generate emergent narratives as they solve problems in their own way. In Nintendo's Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, any of the 4 main bosses, and in fact the final boss, can be attempted in any order the player chooses, meaning that the narrative has to work for any and all potential situations. Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2 provides the player with a world full of non-playable characters who react, mostly realistically, to how you behave around them. The developers putting extra care and attention into making this space feel lived in and authentic. And in IOI's Hitman 3, each level is an intricate machine waiting to be pulled apart and tinkered with, asking you to throw a stone into its metaphorical pond and see what ripples out. Rather than a leaderboard to breed competition, a playground provides peer comparison through storytelling. Playgrounds could be useful in employees learning management skills, strategic planning, or exploring culture skills. Builds are customized collections of skills and tools chosen by the player to approach a particular challenge. As they relate to learning, builds encourage people to explore different approaches to a task and give them opportunities to iterate and experiment. In essence, builds force creativity as they ask learners to consider how their skills work in concert, not isolation. This means that they are also fantastic for team-based learning. It's one thing to work on a build just for yourself, but when you're forced to consider how it plays into a team with differing responsibilities, builds become indispensable. In ZAUM's Disco Elysium, your build determines the choice and volume of the voices in the main character's head.
The big C, that can only mean one thing: communism.
In Atlas's Persona 5, not only do you choose the weapons and equipment your team goes to battle in, but also the monstrous personas that you'll fight with. Here, a strong build means understanding your entire team's strengths and weaknesses. And in From Software's and Bluepoint Games' Demon's Souls, you are presented with almost limitless options for how to build your character, from skills to equipment and weapons. With every enemy presenting a different challenge, players are forced to adjust their builds throughout their journeys. At work, a build scenario could be used in teaching product development, better customer engagement, or agile ways of working.
Get the hell out of here.
Loops have had a resurgence on the gaming mechanic roster, but they provide a safe space for learners to fail and try again. They're typically fast-paced, repeatable sections that allow for experimentation and greater risk-taking by removing the finality of more linear games. Loops are all about trying new tactics, because if you know that a reset will wipe any mistakes clear, why not try something different? Loops force learners not to hold too dear to their plans, and to take risk. In Supergiant Games' Hades, each run lasts anywhere from 2 to 30 minutes. With each attempt feeling so bite-sized, it means that failure, sometimes, doesn't feel quite so crushing. In fact, failure is essential for progression in Hades, and we'll talk about that another time. Outer Wilds by Mobius Digital, and big spoilers here, so go play now. Alright, you back? Or you stayed? Every 22 minutes, the galaxy explodes. Alright? Pretty big. What that means is that the player is forced to prioritize clues on each run. And even within that 22 minutes, the galaxy changes, it opens, it closes potential avenues to the player. Finally, in Arcane Leon's Deathloop, your player is stuck in a never-ending daily loop that sees you exploring the Isle of Blackreef at 4 different times a day. Here, 4 loops exist within the main one, and players can take actions in the morning that will impact the wider world later in the day. Loop mechanics are typically tied to time, and they give learners the time to reset, try again, and explore freely. In the workplace, loops could be useful in helping employees adopt cyber-safe behaviors, handle data, or sales approaches. Lastly, this video is coming out shortly after a new game has appeared in the world, and that game is From Software's Elden Ring. It combines a rich, responsive playground world with deep build customization, all alongside a challenging loop system that sees the world reset upon your death. Elden Ring is being heralded as a masterpiece. It is one of the biggest new IPs since 2016 and has sold over 12 million copies worldwide. And it goes to show what happens when you combine these 3 fantastic game mechanics into one game. Carmen Sandiego probably didn't know what she was getting us into back in the day. In truth, the game of globe-trotting detectives was not something most people saw as learning. Even as it taught world facts, culture, geography, and history, it was just fun. Somewhere along the way, gamification became the bribe to keep employees learning, rather than a better way to learn. Gamification, if fashioned after the best mechanics of today, could provide us with a way to engage multiple learner motivation drivers, and not a singular focus on external rewards. Learning at work may not always be what people want to do with their time, but by making it an experience that drives their intrinsic motivation, we can rely less on dopamine and more on engagement to get them to skill up. That's everything this time. Let me know in the comments. What motivates you to learn? Do you prefer intrinsic or extrinsic rewards? See you next time, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.